does to an Italian.
Well, so what's your maiden name?
We're about 5 seconds away.
DeAndre. That is my name, yeah.
Well, what's your son's last?
DeAndre Award. He's a hyphen.
I'd like to call to order the Wednesday, May 4th regular meeting of the Scarborough Town Council. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Counselor Alquist.
Here.
Counselor Holbrook.
Here.
Counselor DeAndrea.
Here.
Counselor Rancourt.
Here.
Counselor Wood.
Here.
Counselor Chair Roy.
Here. General public comments. The number one reason for general public comments is for anybody wishing to speak on an item that is not on the agenda. The purpose of that, when we instituted it, was people were having to wait until the end of a meeting to talk about something that wasn't on the agenda. So if there's anybody that is going to speak on something other than the topic of the night, we'll allow them to go first. Others are allowed 3 minutes, and I will kind of give you a little high sign when you're getting close to the 3 minutes for general comments on things that are on the budget, on the agenda. And then you will have another opportunity, once the clerk reads the order, you'll have another opportunity to comment before the council makes the motion and seconds it. Once the council makes the motion and seconds it, then public discussion is closed, and it's the discussion of the council. So with that, I will open the general public comments. Anybody that wants to speak on an item that is not on the agenda tonight? Okay. Others, please. Please state your name, your address, and we'll go from there.
I'm Kelly Altaffer, and I live at 7 Chestnut Drive. Last week, I attended the public hearing and listened to Mr. Hall give his presentation on the budget. At the end of the presentation, he mentioned the impact on the mill rate for the 2012 tax year. It's my understanding that the mill rate will increase to $12.96 next year, and this will result in an increase of roughly $100 for a $300,000 property. I mention this because the following morning, I read something on the news to suggest that the actual tax increase is closer to $150. I'm not questioning the information I received here. I just want to point out that the media doesn't always share consistent information, and understand that I'm basing my point this evening on information that I did receive from them. A few weeks ago, I was watching a news report, and a local district was looking to shave about $200,000 from their school budget by making changes to transportation. It was reported that these changes would shave about 10 cents off the mill rate for the town. When I heard that Scarborough was looking to shave about $200,000 off the proposed school budget, I couldn't help but think of this report. Currently, the mill rate is $12.63, so the taxes on a property assessed at $300,000 would be $37.89. Under the proposed budget for 2012, the mill rate will increase to $12.96, and the taxes on this same property will increase to $38.88, a difference of about $100. Using the example of the other town and applying it to our situation, to be safe, we should assume that the information shared about the mill rate impact is a little low. Rather than an increase of 10 cents, we'll assume that it's closer to 20 cents, and the new mill rate would be about $13.16. This same taxpayer under this rate would pay $39.48. This is an increase of $159 per year, $13.25 per month, $3.06 a week, and 45 cents a day. This is a ridiculously small amount of money. My son's weekly allowance is more than the cost that this would impact the average taxpayer for a week. I could skip one weekly coffee at one of the local coffee stores to make up the difference. When it's illustrated in this manner, it's hard to see why we're trying to nickel and dime the quality of education here in Scarborough. It's heart-wrenching and mind-boggling. In closing, I never expected that my trips to these meetings would alter the outcome of the budget. I've always expected that the schools would receive less money than necessary. I just hoped for a different outcome. I'll confess that I'm frustrated that more residents aren't involved in this process. Continued reductions in our school system affect every single resident in this town. If you're a retiree, the value of your home will be impacted when our school's performance continues to decline. If you have a child in the system, you'll be distressed when your child isn't acquiring the knowledge and competitive edge that other children are. If you're a young couple, you probably bought a home here thinking that your future children would receive a great education. In the interim, your property value will be negatively impacted. So each and every one of us has a vested interest in Scarborough schools. So where is everyone? I'd like to see this change in the future. I think all of us can do a better job with this. Town councilors and school board members will be more effective if their constituents provided each of you with more support. It's a two-way street, and we all need to work together to make improvements. I'd really like to see it happen, but maybe I'm just too idealistic.
Thank you, Kelly. Others? If you're wanting to speak, if you just queue up, it would save time.
Good evening. My name's Don Hamill, 880 Creek Lane in Scarborough. I'd like to make several points about the budgeting process overall for the town. I know tonight we're talking primarily about the school budget, but I think that the way that our process currently exists and the way that we're approaching it, it creates a perception that we're really putting the major share of the sacrifice, on the school budget. There have been a number of appeals from various citizens groups for the council and for this whole process to be more sensitive and more responsive to our needs, and for the sacrifices to be shared equitably across all of the town departments. And despite a lot of this discussion, the school department is in fact bearing the biggest sacrifice to bring the budget into line. And I would propose we need to look at the process so that we can look at the entire town budget for ways it can be more efficient and to reduce costs. In the end of late March, my wife Susan and I drafted an email to the town council, and in that email we made several suggestions, 3 primary suggestions for the council to consider in order to change the process. The first of this involved the use of benchmarking study. Other towns use these. It's fairly common practice. It's an effective method to help level set the analysis and to try to determine priorities for areas to be cut. In that analysis, which is easily available on a lot of town websites, our town had the highest per capita costs for services in virtually every cost category, except education. And in education, we ranked 8 of the 12 areas in the 12 towns in the area for both educational expenditures per capita and also education as a percentage of expenditures. We had the highest per capita expense for public safety, public works, and we were at the top for community service expenditures. Additionally, Scarborough has the heaviest debt load when compared to our neighboring towns for both total bonds payable and overall debt service per capita. So what I'm proposing is that, I don't support further cuts in the school budget. And tonight I ask that the town change the budget process so that we can put educational services on equal footing with all other municipal services by having a similar process of review and discussion like this, and to put the entire town budget, not just the school budget, but the entire town budget before the voters for approval in a voter referendum each spring. And we're also making an appeal to the town to treat capital expenditures, which for some reason get treated differently, but to treat them like any other operating expense, just as each homeowner views his or her monthly mortgage payment as part of their overall cash outlays and something that must be managed within a budget. So in closing, I'd just like to say those 3 things: use of benchmarking analysis, review and approval of the entire budget, not just the school budget, via voter referendum each spring, and finally treating CapEx and debt service and viewing that as an expense item are the 3 things that we'd like to have the town council focus on in order to bring things back into line and to make sure that we're improving our relative performance of our education in this town in a fashion consistent with the other services areas that I mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hamel.
Hi, I'm Helen Rundell. I live at 38 Evergreen Farms Road.
Can you speak a little louder?
Sorry. Can you hear me now? I would like to ask you to please support the school budget presented to you by the school board. The schools have already suffered from significant cuts in teaching staff and programs, and our children are the worst for it. Please support the budget so that our children don't lose any more. Our reputation as a desirable community is suffering because of school funding cuts, and therefore our home values are suffering Many sales that used to go to Scarborough homeowners are going to other communities. We have an opportunity here to regain some ground that we've lost and show that we support our schools. And by doing that, perhaps we can bring prospective buyers back. I want my house and all the other homes in Scarborough to retain and hopefully regain market share and value. My daughter only has one more year left in the Scarborough school system, but I want to ensure that all of the children in our town have an excellent education now and in the future. If we keep cutting, the children are going to suffer. You can't keep cutting teachers and programs and expect the same quality of education. Please support the budget proposed by the school board. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. Anybody else? Hearing none, I will close the general public comments. Minutes of the April 20th regular meeting. Motion?
Move approval, Madam Chair.
Second?
Any errors, omissions, corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor? And the minutes of the April 27th special meeting. Motion, please.
Move approval.
Second.
Any errors, omissions, or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor? Thank you.
Adjustments to the agenda?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm losing it. Are there any adjustments to the agenda? None. Items to be signed, treasurer's warrants, I have done that already.
Okay. Under old business, order number 11-27 is the second reading on the proposed municipal school budget for fiscal year 2012.
Anybody wishing to speak again? Motion from the council.
Move approval, Madam Chair, of order number 11-27.
I'll second. Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to move approval to amend the main motion to accept the Finance Committee's recommended adjustments to the municipal and education operating budgets and to the municipal capital budget as listed below.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I would like to divide the question if I could.
Second.
I'd like to divide, my motion was divide item B.
Oh, I'd like to divide it all.
I want to divide B. That's my motion.
Okay, then I'm gonna make an amendment to, after that, to divide it all.
That's fine.
There's been a motion to divide the question, separating out item B, and there was a second to that. There is no discussion on the division. Discussion now on that.
Well, I would like to read my motion for that B,
Sure.
if I could. Move approval to amend the main motion as amended to increase funding to payment to other agencies for a new total of $71,000, which is the exact allocation to the various agencies requesting funding to be determined by the finance chair at a later date.
Chair or committee?
Is there a second to that?
Second.
We haven't
Discussion.
voted on dividing the question yet,
Oh, I'm sorry.
so he can't do that yet.
All those in favor of dividing the question, I'm sorry. Trying to get the process right, and I'm
I
not doing well.
I would
Okay,
like
so
to
there is-
amend the main motion
Okay,
to
we
divide
need
out.
to, we need to handle item B first.
Okay.
Okay, so there's been a motion to divide out question B, section B, and that motion is to change it to $71,000 for outside agencies, and the decision on allocation be made by the Finance Committee. Discussion. Counselor Alquist.
Yeah, it's my intention of putting the nonprofit agencies back into the budget, but I understand, talking to various counselors, that we need to talk about and we need to figure out which agencies we support and the job that they do. So I know these are very difficult times, and we certainly need to support these agencies at this time. You know, we put this item to remove them from the Finance Committee's budget, in my opinion, so we could have a discussion on how these monies should be allocated. It seems to me that that project is a daunting task, and it's one that's going to have to take a lot of time, energy, and effort by the Finance Committee to dissect and to go through the nonprofits. But it is my intent, clearly, to put the nonprofit money back into the budget, and let the Finance Committee figure out where it's best allocated.
Counselor Wrangler.
Yeah, I'm in support of your motion, Counselor Alquist, except that, would you plan that your decisions would come back to the council for a review, or at least an official?
Yeah, absolutely. Our finance committees are open to everybody, and we certainly will do everything. I try to keep in contact with the rest of the council.
Yeah, it's
so
just,
you know exactly what we're going to do, Carol.
Right.
There's no surprises.
No, I just don't go to those early morning meetings.
I understand 7:30 gets to you. I understand. AM. I understand.
Counselor DeAndrea.
No, I support this as well. The one thing that in the discussions with the Finance Committee about appropriations is that, having worked in the nonprofit realm for 12 or 13 years now, one of the things that is, required by most funders are annual reports from the nonprofit to say this was how the money was spent, and we don't normally get those, and I think that those might be really helpful to us to make decisions about how money is allocated in the future. And often, too, as nonprofits are requesting funds, that those requests, and maybe through the chair to the town manager, those requests are often more detailed about what the funding is for, rather than just a bulk sum.
That did happen, if I might respond to that. That did happen. There is a packet which, I have reviewed, and there was a different process this year. There were specific questions that they had to answer, and there were forms that they had to fill out. So those were all sent to the agencies that were listed in last year's budget, and they all did respond. And that's the work that the Finance Committee needs to complete, is to look through that and to see whether or not those monies are, how much those monies are actually supporting how many of our residents in Scarborough. So that did already happen this year, and Colette should have some copies of that, if you would like those.
I'd be interested in taking
Okay.
a look at those.
I'm pleased to provide just a draft copy. This is the material we sent out to each and every agency, and to which they responded. So we have a completed form from each of those agencies requesting financial support.
Thank you.
Counselor Alquist?
Yeah, and I just want to respond to that a little bit. This year when the Finance Committee, Councilor Sullivan, Councilor Wood, and myself got together, we said we're going to try to meet every month, and we were going to that was one of our goals, to take the nonprofits and maybe Sedco and maybe some other things, and try to dissect them a little bit and make it easy to understand for the full council. So we will. We'll keep you in the loop and keep you informed.
Thank you.
Counselor Wood?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Councilor Alquist, for your motion. I'll support your motion. And for full disclosure for the rest of the councilors here, I was the one who brought up at the Finance Committee level the motion to remove any funding for nonprofits from this year's budget. And I wanted to be clear that the reasons I did that have nothing to do with my second-guessing to the good work that they do. I'm a contributor to one or more of the agencies that at the same time as a councilor suggested that we not fund from the council level. Philosophically, I struggle sometimes with me being in this seat and deciding for the citizens how their money should be spent for such contributions. But I do recognize the good work they do, and I think that at the level that Councilor Alquist is suggesting for further review, I can wrap my arms around better as to what true value they bring to the citizens of Scarborough. Because after all, this is, as one gentleman said last week, put your money where your mouth is. I put my money where my mouth is, but I struggle with putting your money where my mouth is. And this process will allow me to get a better sense, rather, that I'm spending the money correctly, your money, that is. So I'll support the motion. Thank you.
I, too, will support this. when I look at what's happening at a national level and then at a state level, and then at a local level, this is the bottom echelon of the trickle-down effect, and I think that these are the folks that are really struggling to keep their heads above water. I did look at all of the agencies' data that, that they brought in to, for us to review, and comparing the numbers of dollars of support that we provided last year versus the amount of dollars that actually was spent providing support to those folks, certainly the majority of them, in my estimation, were very justified in getting some support, which does not negate individual support. So the more, there's a need for more, and certainly I concur with Councilor Wood that, these are the agencies that we need to be supporting personally, but looking at that dollar amount that we provided and the dollar amount that was actually spent providing those services, I don't think that it makes up for, or makes a decision for me whether I give money to one agency versus the other. So I would support it, and I think, it's important. I think Council DeAndrea and I were on the Finance Committee last year, and we did look at the agencies, and she came up with a formula where we could, adjust the monies so that at least they were provided almost what they had requested, and that seemed to work well. But I think, each year it deserves a look to be sure that the amount of services provided is in fact worth the investments. So, other comments from the council? Councilor Wood?
Just an additional comment. Although the motion requests $71,000 be added to this year's budget, my sense is that through the Finance Committee's deliberations, we may or may not expend all those monies, and we'll certainly report back to the council as a whole as to whether we might want to set up some sort of account, if you will, that could be carried over from year to year.
Any other comments? So the motion before us is the divided question on the appropriation of monies to the agencies in the sum of $71,000. All those in favor? Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to divide the question, the remaining items of the question.
I'll second.
You take each one individually.
To divide C, D, and E?
A, C, D, and E.
So there's been a motion to divide the remaining items, A, C, D, and E. Is there a second to that?
Yeah, I seconded.
Council DeAndrea.
Oh, okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you.
I would like to, no, I want, my first one I'd like to divide out is to discuss is item D. I'd like to make a motion to make some changes on item D. That's the municipal capital budget, and on, make sure I'm on the right page here. I was here, and then, okay, on municipal capital budgets, which is in tab 7.
You need to make the motion to
Okay,
divide
I just
first.
want people to see where I'm coming from. I would like to amend, to make a motion to remove the Higgins
need to-
Beach bathhouse.
We need to make a motion first to divide the question.
Oh, I thought we were just gonna discuss the questions since we weren't dividing them. Okay, so I'll move to tease out number D, item
Okay.
D.
So there's a motion to divide D. Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Okay.
4 in favor?
Yep, 5. There was one more. Okay. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to divide the question, and then would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I'd like to add to the Finance Committee's recommendation for adjustments. I'd like to remove the Higgins Beach bathhouse from the capital improvement plan, municipal capital projects, in the amount of $290,000.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion.
I just want to say that it's not that I'm opposed to the bathhouse or doing additional work down in Higgins Beach, but given the financial difficulties this year, I know this won't strictly affect our budget this year. It all depends on when we bond it. But I feel that this is something that can wait. It is not a need, it's a want. And I think with the work that we're gonna do on the parking lot restructuring and that kind of thing, we can get by for another year at least, and then look at doing the bathhouse in the future.
Counselor Holbrook.
I just had one question, if I could, through the chair, to ask our manager. We will be able to continue, I would surmise, keeping the lovely blue boxes down there if we don't do the bathhouse this year.
Certainly, we would make our arrangements to have the porta potties remain, absolutely.
Counselor Wood.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And through the chair, Tom, is the number that Council Rancourt quoted, 290, what is that in the scheme of the whole project? Can you speak to specifics? Is it
Roughly, it'll represent about half of the expenditure that was contemplated. Initially, $300,000 was allocated for this current budget year. We're currently using some of that to make improvements to the lot, certainly not all of it. And this money represented really specifically the bathhouse and the related amenities.
I see. And if this should pass, then I would presume that the structure that exists today would remain as is until...
I hadn't thought of it, but yeah, there's a cottage that sits on the property. It's perfectly fine and habitable. I wouldn't see any reason that we would move forward with raising that structure until we're prepared to do something in its place.
And this may or may not be a surprise to you, so I forgive me for putting you on the spot, but would it impact, in your view, our vision for aiding the parking situation at Higgins Beach this summer, as far as the parking spots and the management of those spots, and maybe even the...
I think it will have little, if no, impact on the parking specific. This is always intended, in my opinion, to address some of the ancillary issues with some of the beach users at Higgins Beach. And beyond that, with the town establishing an ownership interest and an operational responsibility, I think long-term, having permanent restrooms is going to be a very important feature, but there's no question we could delay it slightly.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Hearing that, I'll support Councilor Rancourt's motion.
Counselor DeAndrews.
Yeah, I'm going to support Councilor Rancourt's recommendation as well. I have heard from a whole bunch of residents who totally agree, have the same sentiments that Councilor Rancourt does, that, this is a project that we don't need to have. Even though it is in the CIP budget, it is part of the budget in total. And I know next year, the CIP budget's going to take a huge hit when the fire department asks for over $1 million for fire equipment. So we need to be, I think, very mindful of more debt that we're incurring as we go along, especially in light of the fact that, of course, the residents will have an opportunity to vote on a new Wentworth school this year. So I definitely will support this.
Counselor Alquist.
Well, you're right about one thing. It's certainly a want and not something that we really need right today. I'm just disappointed I didn't hear more comments like this during our deliberations at the Finance Committee. I didn't hear anybody that was opposed to going through this. I didn't certainly hear people that was opposed to it. I understand the crisis we're in, the financial crisis we're in, and I understand this is a large item. I think what we're doing really is just putting it off. We're going to have to deal with it. We all hope and cross our fingers that maybe it'll get better, the economy next year. There are some big items, like Councilor DeAndrea said, that we're going to have to deal with next year. But I'm okay. I'm okay with putting this off and for another year. I'll support her motion.
I too will support the motion. As far as actual effect on the mill rate, it would have none in this year's budget. Would have a small, probably a very minute amount in next year's budget once it was appropriated. I understand, the reasoning. It doesn't help us address some of the issues, as the manager alluded to, that we've had with users of the beach and privacy issues of the residents. But certainly I could support delaying it. Councilor Sullivan, anything? No? Any other discussion on that? So the motion is to add to D, which was divided out, add to that the cost of the capital expenditure for the bathhouse, which is approximately $300,000.
290 in the budget.
290,000. All those in favor? Thank you. So we have divided out B and D. Councilor
Madam Chair,
Rankin?
I apologize, I have a very bad cold, so I'm not really in full possession of my faculties this evening. So I'm not sure.
No excuse.
No, we know that.
Well, a poor excuse is better than none, they say. So I might have been confused about teasing out these items. I was thinking to go over them item by item, we had to tease them out, but I guess we could discuss them as the whole motion as well. And is that what your plan is?
Yeah.
Now to go through them and discuss them, or before we vote on the entire motion?
We would move on to discuss A, C, and E.
Correct.
B and D have already been determined because they were divided out and voted on, so there will be no further vote on that except for the final vote, the roll call vote.
Okay,
So-
and then just one other thing I would like to say before I give up my hand. I just want to say to the Finance Committee, I think you did a stellar job this year. I have looked at this budget from stem to stern, and it is hard to find things. And I think perhaps I haven't been on the Finance Committee for a long time. In fact, I'm not even sure I've ever been on it on the council. I might have only been on it on the Board of Education. As I said, I'm not firing on all cylinders tonight.
I think you're right on.
I think I could be. But I'm not going to be held anything tonight. But I did come to the final meeting of the Finance Committee, but I wasn't sure I was supposed to make suggestions then. So please, don't take anything negatively about your work if I come up with other suggestions tonight. They're just thoughts I've had, and for discussion purposes. It's not that I think you guys have done a great job with this. Thank you.
And I think for discussion purposes, it's important for the public to hear this discussion, because I attended all but the last meeting of the Finance Committee and did not offer any input, but I wasn't sure that I needed to at that point. But, so it's important that the public understand where each and every one of us is coming from and what we're thinking, so not a problem. So we are back to the main motion, amendment to the main motion, which is to continue to discuss items A, D, and E in totality.
C and E.
I mean, A, C, and E, sorry. So, discussion on those items. Councilor DeAndrew.
Yes, this is with regards to letter A. And I'm looking at the fuel adjustment in contingency. And is that the same contingency that I'm looking at under general government that increased 9,000%? It went from, and perhaps through the chair to the town manager, why did it increase? And first of all, what is contingency? And why did it increase from $700 to $67,000 from last year?
This is entirely a final adjustment that we recommended to the Finance Committee, or I included in the budget and the Finance Committee further considered, specifically relating to the rise in fuel costs. And that's still very much a moving target. Trying to speculate what those costs are likely to be for this next fiscal year have been challenging, to say the least. We did adjust various fuel lines throughout the budget to reflect an increased cost. But again, this represents a final adjustment, and we've kind of backed down a bit from that, and that's why I think the Finance Committee has recommended we can take $25,000 away from that. And frankly, we put it in contingency, so it was easy to identify and to get back to, as opposed to dozens of lines throughout the budget.
Okay, so that is just strictly for the municipal side? And that's over all departments?
Yes.
Okay, I guess that's what I meant, it's over all departments.
And so it clearly is an anomaly, as you so correctly point out, showing the percent increase from last year. And if you look at the history, it's been used sparingly throughout history. And honestly, I put it here so it made a statement, and we didn't lose sight of it in the process.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Rancourt?
Yeah, I just, to follow up on that, the Finance Committee had its last meeting, I think in April now, or maybe, was it that last
April.
one I came to?
Yeah.
Do you, is your feeling still the same, that we can afford to reduce fuel, given the news projections now? And are you still comfortable with that number?
Counselor Alcorn?
I'll answer that, and Tom can answer it better than I can, but I think it's always a gamble, you know? It's, nobody, we all see the news, read the papers like everybody else, and it's a very unstable situation.
Yeah.
And we were just trying to take a shot at it, and the best we could. So is it a definite thing? No, not for sure.
We still, even with this proposed reduction, we still have something in the order of 30% increase from the prior year. Whether that's enough, I really can't sit here and honestly say that's the case. That's something we will monitor closely through the course of the year, and we'll do without elsewhere if we find ourselves running over that budget.
Right. I just heard on the news, I think, since I've been out sick a couple days, that they're predicting now gas prices will go up to $6 by summer, $6 a gallon. So, I mean,
Stop it.
it's very scary.
And could I ask a question to the manager on the excise revenue? I know all of this is relative to the state changing its way in which it determines how much of that the community keeps as revenue.
No, actually, this is a little rosier, more optimistic projection. It does not include and provide for any of the current legislation that's pending. One piece of legislation of which would reduce overall excise by 5%. Word is that is likely not to proceed. It will be voted ought not to pass. So frankly, this is a bit optimistic, though it tracks with history. We've known in recent past that certainly the economy affects this line greatly. Although, if you look at the news in the last couple of weeks, car manufacturers are reporting very good progress, particularly on the smaller, more fuel-efficient cars. So excise could see a bump as a result of that.
Other questions on the Section A? Section C? Counselor DeAndre?
Are we still busting things out in order to make motions on them, or
You can do it
or
now.
amendments, excuse me?
No, this is still amendable.
Is this amendable as it sits, or do we have to take it out as we took out the other two?
If you divide it out, there'll be no discussion on the division, and you can adjust it, and then there would be a vote on that section. If you leave it in there, it would become part of the total, A, C, and E. But you can discuss those parts.
So forgive me, because this is only my second time doing that, or excuse me, my third time doing this.
This is only my first time trying to chair doing this.
So we'll all muddle through this together. So is there, I guess I don't understand necessarily the difference between taking it out separately, discussing it separately, and maybe I could get some clarification.
Counselor Alcorn.
I think what we're doing now is just discussing those items. If you want to break something out and take action on that, then you're going to have to divide the question. Divide the question as action. Absent that, it's just discussion.
Okay, I guess that's what I was trying to get
Yeah.
at.
Right?
Just in terms of process, I prepared this motion, it was in my opinion, perhaps I was wrong, I thought it was important for the full council to consider, as your first step tonight, the the body of recommendations from the Finance Committee. If you choose to go further and beyond that, that's certainly your prerogative. But in terms of getting that, getting through that process as a first step, I think is important, and I'd encourage you to stay on that track.
Which,
Certainly appropriate to move to divide
which
it.
we are. I mean,
Sure.
this is presented that we accept the whole thing. If somebody has difficulty with that, then they have to divide it out. They have to make a motion to divide it out.
So you could
take
move
action
to,
on
you could
that.
move to divide if you want it to read differently than that.
Okay,
Right.
so I do, so I do, okay, so I do
Okay.
need to, okay, so I would like to move to separate out item number C.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? So it will be considered as part of the whole, but still open for discussion.
Well,
If you amend it, however, if you want to amend it, it'll take 5 votes to pass it. Is that correct? Yes.
I thought we just
No,
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 still-
amendment
did that.
is only after
I'm
the
sorry.
budget's finally
Okay,
adopted.
I'm sorry.
okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. This is just making it very difficult for me to support this total package. As I mentioned, this is the third time I've sat down to do budgets. And by the way, I want to thank all the department heads out there. Thank you, guys. Did a great job again this year, as well as the Finance Committee. But one of the things that I have heard every single year, and that the most people have come out to talk about, is the school budget. Every single year, lines of people come, I get tons of emails, I get phone calls, don't cut the school budget anymore. I hear it over and over and over again, and yet we still continue to cut the school budget. And it's driving me, and I think lots of other people, kind of crazy, because truly, this is probably the single best investment we can make in this town on so many levels, on just so many levels. And I cannot support another cut and more positions. I think will now lose, with these cuts in the past 2 years, 45 full-time positions. It does not make any sense to me. Classroom sizes keep increasing, we keep losing ground, our curriculums are falling behind. I just keep hearing horror story after horror story after horror story. So, I truly wish that this group could really work to get rid of some of that 225,000. I sincerely cannot support that in good faith. It just doesn't do anything for the town if we continue to gut our schools. Thank you.
Comments, Counselor Rancourt?
Yeah,
Counselor Wood?
I guess probably most people know that I very much support our school department. And I know there's a lot of hard feelings among many people out in the community when they look at teacher salaries, teacher raises, this building, that building. There's always a need, a feeling of, couldn't we do this better? Couldn't we do it differently? Does it have to, throwing money at something isn't the answer. And philosophically, I agree with that, but I've really looked at what we've been doing the past few years, and every year we have, in the past few years, sort of done an 11th hour additional operating reduction to the school department. And, having the hindsight of history, we did that very same thing in the 70s, and we went into, when we finally realized what we had done, and our schools had a very low reputation, we spent a lot of time and a lot of percentage of budget bringing our school department back. I'm not looking for us to be running a Cadillac school system here. I'll be happy if we could just maintain what we've had in the past. But I don't see that we're doing that. We are enlarging, as Councilor DeAndrea said, we are enlarging class sizes. We have not expanded our curriculum, and in today's time, we need a modern curriculum to meet the modern requirements of life in the world, not just the United States. And I think one of the things that really caught me the most was the whole issue about the foreign languages. You know, in my heart, we should not just be teaching French and Spanish, but we should be teaching Chinese and the Indian language, many other languages that are the languages of commerce and productivity in the world of the future. And I hear all the time, well, we could be doing this more economically. We could be doing classes online. We could be doing this. We could be doing that. But the true Socratic method of teaching, a teacher teaching a small group of students, has worked since practically the whole concept of education began. And for the gifted student, other methods can work, but for the average student, they don't. And I really feel that that is the place that Scarborough is letting down the side of our future. And it all comes home to roost in the long run in your reputation. So I too am hoping that we can whittle down this 225. It's not a huge amount. In fact, maybe the town manager can tell me the amount that 225 adds or subtracts from the tax base. I'm not sure what it is, Tom. You probably told me before, but as I said, my mind is a sieve tonight.
I'm not sure if I can produce that number that quickly for you. If you allow me a moment, I'll see if I can work on it.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry to put you on the spot. That's it.
Counselor Wood?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, this is always a very difficult time of the year. But my memory is a little bit different than Council Rancourt's, insofar as I've had any kind of say or influence in the matter. I put a lot of faith and credibility in the superintendent's budget deliberations and the school board's finance committee, and then the school board as a whole. The last 3 years have been very difficult. I think it was 3 years ago, right here in these chambers, we added over $400,000 to the school budget. And I'm glad we did. And I think the school was glad that we did. I want to say last year it was in the $100,000 range, but I could be wrong. So I don't think we have any kind of history per se of reducing school budgets at this level. What we're looking at here is what I believe is a reasonable compromise, if you will, where the superintendent's budget compared to the budget that was submitted by the school board, I think it was $500,000 and change more. $545,000 more than the superintendent's recommendation. And through the Finance Committee and deliberations with Tom, we wanted not only the school, but also the town side to reduce their request. Tom submitted a proposal to reduce the town side by $248,000, and that's where we're at now. And in the same effort, Finance Committee is recommending $225 from the original $500 plus over the superintendent. So it's a net $300 plus over the superintendent's proposed budget. Is it enough? I don't know. I leave it up to the experts to really say it's enough, but I think it's hard to argue that it's not somewhere in the middle. I think the superintendent I know the superintendent has a much clearer idea as to what they need than I do. What I'm careful to not lose sight of is, and some might argue it's an apple and an orange, but I'm mindful of the fact that we're going to be asking the citizens to support what I believe is a very worthwhile capital project this fall, and that's a new Wentworth school. And I want to make sure that when we leave these chambers, whether we add money or not, I just want to make sure that the citizens know that we've done our best to try to keep this budget in line in as much as is possible and consider the needs of all the citizens. And I think this is a reasonable compromise. That's why I support it.
Counselor Holbrook.
I support it as it is. I say it as well as Mike does, but I think it's pretty fair on both sides. Ideally, yes, we'd love to finance everything to the full extent of what everybody needs and what everybody's wants are, but the realities of it is, it's just not there. I think it's a middle ground, absolutely, and I just want to make sure, it's hard to sit here and look and say, well, you're cutting, and yes, you are cutting, but you're also adding. It's $1 million more on the school side than we were last year, and it's $1 million more than we were on the municipal side as we were last year. And I appreciate and applaud the cut. I do, and I full-heartedly support it. I think the biggest problem has been, unfortunately, is the state, and we just can't do much about that. Bang on some doors and hunt our money back down, but outside of that, there's not, only so much we can do, so.
Just if I could answer Councilor Rancourt's question, the effect of $225,000 to the budget is about 7 cents on the tax rate.
I guess I can support this middle-of-the-road compromise. I think a lot of input has been given, but the things that I've thought about as I've tried to struggle with this is, number one, we're proposing to reduce a request. We are not cutting the budget, and that term always bothers me. When I look at that, and when I look at how the budget got put together this year, there was the use of $1.1 million that came to the school department. That's a one-time thing. So I'm looking out there to next year's budget, and we're going to have to make up that $1.1 million next year. And so that's going to even make next year's budget extremely more difficult than this one. I think, some of the comments by folks, the per pupil issue is a difficult one. As I look at the statistics, I went online to the state and looked at them. There are a lot of variables in each of those figures. For example, if you look at a community like Cranberry Island, they spend $30,000 some odd dollars per pupil, but how many pupils do they have and how many residents are in that area? So it's all relative. I think comparing one community to the other, we need more data on that. We need to know what the population is and what the total student level. I applaud the school department for providing the quality education that we have here in Scarborough, even though that per pupil cost is seemingly low. It is $1,164 below the average amount statewide. It's easy to look at the municipal budget and say, that's where all of the reductions need to take place. But people may come to Scarborough for the schools, but if the infrastructure and the municipal facilities are not adequate, they're not going to come just for the schools. So, and if we let the community, the infrastructure degrade, then the value of their homes is also going to degrade. So it's a tough balancing act, and I can support this just basically in that, it is, I think, to me, a reasonable compromise. A difficult decision, certainly. I understand what the school board faced as they looked at it, but I also understand that the acting superintendent worked long and hard and did it from the grassroots up, looking at curriculum, and said that she felt that this could work, the reduction of $500,000, and she felt that could work. This still leaves $320,000 of the $545,000 that was reinstated by the school board. So it's not a total loss to the school. They're not losing the total amount, but certainly there is an equitable reduction. And should it be equitable? That's the question that a lot of people face. But again, I think we need to look long and hard at our statistics and look at them in relationship to a lot of other variables that many of the benchmarking studies do not look at. It's pretty cold. And you can make statistics say pretty much anything that you want, but you have to look at all of the variables that are attached to it. For example, how many miles of roads do we maintain in this town of Scarborough compared to Gorham, Falmouth, Cumberland, Portland, et cetera. So there's a lot of other considerations to make. So along the short of it, I think I can support leaving this recommendation of the reduction by $225,000 of the requested $545,000. Other comments? Councilor DeAndrea.
I'll just sort of keep it short and sweet, I guess. I guess I'm disappointed, because I really believe that there are other places in the budget that we could reduce from to make up for that $225,000. And no offense, Mike Shaw, because I like your work. But we almost take better care of our public works trucks than we do our kids in schools.
Councilor Wood.
Yes, I just want to close by saying that I too think that this community can position itself well to spend more on education. And I think that we're moving towards that, believe it or not. I hesitate to compare ourselves too much with other towns and communities. I have one child in school and recently graduated too. And I can tell you that I couldn't be more pleased with the quality of education they got and how prepared they were for college. And one is going on to grad school now to further her studies in the medical field. So I don't think my experiences are unique. I hear the concerns, and I don't discount them. I certainly don't. I think Scarborough has a lot to be proud of for the value that they bring to the taxpayers and the quality of education that we get from that. And as is evidence from my previous votes when it comes to school, I support the school. I shouldn't have to tell anybody, but they remember. And I believe I'm supporting the schools again by increasing the superintendent's budget by over $325,000. This year, when you look at the municipal and the education side of the matrix, if you will, the percentage change increase for the education pieces is about 1.62, 1.65%, first municipal at 0.95%. Maybe we'd like a bigger spread, but it does show a favor, if you will, to paying attention to our obligations as it relates to education. And again, I think this town has a long history of, and its citizens has a long history of fully supporting the education system in Scarborough. I believe, and I'm welcome to be corrected, but I believe that the $28 million expansion of the high school still represents the most expensive public project fully funded by the citizens of Scarborough in the state's history. And we're about to ask the citizens to fund a project reach a little bit over $30 million, I would imagine. So, and I'm fully going to support that, and I hope the citizens will too. And I think we're moving in the right direction.
And if I might add to my comments, I wanted to piggyback on Councilor Wood's comment relative to the Wentworth School. Certainly, any tax increase is going to be hard on a lot of our folks, the elders and people of lower income, and certainly when we ask them to fund a new Wentworth school, that we're not going to realize any money from the state at all. I think trying to keep it the percentage increase, the mill rate increase down at this point, hopefully will be helpful to the building of the new Wentworth School. If the budget comes in too much higher, then it may hurt that project, and I don't want that to happen, because that building needs to be replaced, so. Other comments on section C? Okay. And The other item on the amendment to the main motion is relative to some fees. It's a fee relative to cemetery fees for grave openings and for cremations. What a terrible topic, huh? I asked the Finance Committee, as part of an explanation, for this to be considered. My mother passed away about 17 years ago now, and like probably on a Thursday, and it necessitated having her funeral and burial on a Saturday. And it cost me $100 more to bury her on Saturday, and I had no say in when God would call her home. And so I said to the Finance Committee, could we look at that and even that fee out throughout the week and make up for that difference, rather than tagging somebody with a higher fee just because it was a Saturday or Sunday. So that's why that item is in there. And I think, too, there, you know, as the Finance Committee moves on, there are many other fees in the fee structure that we need to look at relative to whether or not they're being collected or used, and go from there. Any comments on that one? Okay, so we have a motion to amend the main motion to reduce the municipal operating budget by $248,755, to appropriate the monies for agencies at a sum of $71,000.
Yeah, that's already done, so it's just A, C, and E.
Okay, and C and E, I'm sorry. And C, to keep the reduction in the school operating budget to $225,000, and to change the permit fees for cemetery fees and
Don't
grave
forget about
openings.
D2.
Oh, I'm sorry. And D, to add to that list of CIP adjustments. No, we already did that one, Carol. That was
okay.
already pulled
All
out.
right.
So it's just A, C, and E.
Okay.
So any other discussion on those three parts of the amendment? All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Now,
Any other amendments?
are there any other amendments to the motion? Go ahead. Counselor Rancourt.
I had a couple, these are thoughts that may come in to be motions, and I had talked with Tom, I think, I'm not even remembering what day, Tom, maybe Monday or Tuesday.
Tuesday.
One of them was looking at the benefits that we offer employees, and I looked at that we are providing, it looks like fully paid dental. We are not.
50%.
50%, or even 50% dental then. That was one area I thought we might be able to remove from the budget. Many businesses use that as a cafe benefit, cafeteria benefit. They provide the benefit but do not pay for it.
With
And
these,
so,
if I might interrupt, with these, if you could make them a motion to amend
okay,
with a second, and then we can discuss and either approve or
Okay.
eliminate.
I will move to amend the municipal budget to remove dental benefits as a paid benefit.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion.
So my issue is, and I didn't get my questions answered. I don't know if all of these are negotiated benefits, so it's something we could or could not do at this time. But I'm looking at it as a long-term issue to perhaps be looked at, to reduce the benefit, reduce the budget without costing any jobs.
Counselor Alquist.
I think, Carol, that Councilor Rancourt, in my opinion, that's probably a negotiated item that we would go to the table with. I would suggest, if you have long-term suggestions like this, I would think that we should take them up in a workshop maybe, or at the Finance Committee, and we'll flush them out, and we move forward as a group with these. But I'm not sure, I don't want to say appropriate, but I'm not sure this is the right
That's right,
place
but this has been
to
my
do
only
that.
opportunity
No,
to discuss the
I
budget.
understand that, so
So
having
I'm
said
taking
that,
it.
we'll put together a finance committee at a reasonable hour for you, so you could be there and talk about all these things. I mean, we have a lot of collective bargaining agreements that are coming up, they're due, we need to discuss that, and certainly, there's a much bigger picture there, and I understand where you're
Correct.
coming from, but I just don't think this is a place.
And-
We want to tip our hands.
Yeah.
To that end, just let me throw in one other item. I had also looked at our,
We have to stick with this component. Let's take one component at a time, so we don't get,
Well,
Okay.
You made it as a motion?
yeah.
I really
Yeah,
wanted
it
to
was
just
moved and
discuss it at
seconded.
this point, but.
Well,
Yeah.
withdraw the motion.
Well, I just want, one discussion that I would have is that the town manager did work with negotiating a healthcare plan, which is a lesser plan, and it reduced the benefit package by $66,000. So there was some attempt at doing some adjustment in this year's budget, and to the tune of $66,000. So,
And that may be true, but I have I have no knowledge of
yeah,
that.
okay. So, any other discussion on removing the dental benefits from the budget?
No,
No?
yes.
I'm gonna weigh in on this. I think it's a great idea, but I'd just be a little concerned about some of the, I don't wanna, I'm not gonna vote for it, but I think it's a great idea, absolutely coming into next year, that all those things are on the table. I'd be a little worried about, which is the discussions that's been having, that whether or not we can physically do that or not.
That's right, and that was my question that I haven't had an answer to, so I'm not, I know this is the 11th hour, but I am looking at ways, so this is just one of my
Perspective.
thoughts. I will be happy to withdraw the motion at this point. If you'd be
And I'll
willing to
withdraw
the
my second.
Okay. Fine. But with a recommendation that the Finance Committee put that on their agenda of items to review at their monthly meetings, to review and to,
And if I could make one other suggestion while I have the floor, I also looked at long-term disability benefits. My question to the town manager is, how many of our employees are covered by Social Security now, rather than Main State Retirement? Because Social Security is a long-term disability benefit. And perhaps we could look at the issue of short-term disability versus long-term, and the costs that might be associated with that for future negotiations to save us some money.
Counselor DeAndrew?
So I'm confused. We have to make some sort of amendment before we can discuss something? Can we discuss something before we make an amendment?
Generally, you need to have something on the floor to discuss.
Okay.
Well, I thought we were talking about the budget.
The time
in-
for general discussion was at the Finance Committee meetings. I mean, that's where all of these questions.
We don't get recognized at those.
Right, and some of us couldn't make those meetings. And I think the public has a right to know what our questions are about the budget. So why can't we discuss the budget? Why do we have to make an amendment?
Because it's Robert's rules, it's process. I'm trying to follow process so that it's appropriate.
Make a motion.
I mean, so just, I mean, it doesn't hurt to make a motion. It's out there, and it allows the discussion, and it follows proper protocol. That's all I'm trying to do.
All right, I'll make a motion. I would like to amend the main motion to increase funding for general assistance housing from the proposed 7,000 back to the $16,075 that was for this year's budget.
Is there a second to that?
Second. This is the
Discussion.
only way we can discuss it.
Yeah.
You have to have a second.
Right.
If we know that I guess we know we're spending over $16,000 on general assistance housing. Why are we dropping that $9,000? When we know we're getting ready to increase taxes, but we're dropping general assistance housing. So for those people on fixed incomes or low incomes, that maybe won't be able to, absorb that increase in taxes. Won't we need general assistance housing for that?
Ellen, could you speak to that? Come up to the mic, please.
As Ellen takes the podium.
Ellen is our HR director.
Clearly, we're not proposing any change in benefits. I think Ellen will speak to the historical rationale for this reduction. But again, we're not changing any level of benefits for any town resident.
Good evening. Ellen Blair, Human Resources Director and GA Director. The reason there is such a difference in the budget this year for GA as a whole is because when I looked at this to put it together, we have not been spending anywhere near what we've budgeted in past years. In FY09, for GA housing, we spent $7,000. In FY10, we spent $3,600. In FY11 to date, we've spent $1,500.
So, again, through the chair, so why is it projected out for 2011 at $16,000?
Simply not updated. That's an error on our part. That would require us to go in and override and plug in a new number, so I apologize for not updating that. But the actual experience suggests that the budget we're proposing is adequate.
Okay.
Essentially, if we don't override and plug in a new projection number, it simply carries over from the budget number, and that's an error on our part for not updating
That's
that.
really confusing. I withdraw my motion.
Thank you, Ellen. Counselor Wood.
Let's go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was just going to, through the chair, Tom, with that last explanation, I would imagine it's very hard to budget a specific number and hit it exactly. Of course, we're going to be a little under, and hopefully much less of the time we're a little over. When we're under, the excess monies, they're not put away in someone's sock drawer, but in fact, it reflects on a lower tax rate, does it not? I mean, we don't spend the money?
No, actually not. Those monies would need to be raised once they're approved by you through this budget process. If they go unspent, one or two things happen. We'll often encumber funds to the following year if there's a intended purpose and there's a need to encumber them, but more times than not, any excess monies go to fund balance, ultimately. If it's not spent, it falls to fund balance.
And that line that shows fund balance is clearly visible and shows 1 year to the next to see.
Certainly. I mean, that's a matter that we've certainly taken up with the Finance Committee and this full council. You've used fund balance in very recent history to help offset your tax increases through budget. So money doesn't go away. It comes back to benefit the town.
Are there any other amendments, Counselor Rancourt?
I do. Because I need to do it in a motion instead of a question, I move that we reduce shade tree planting by $7,500. It's on page 30,
It's in the Public Works budget.
and we are jumping from $3,000 last year to $15,000 this year, a 400% increase. I just don't know why.
Is there a
It
second?
might be
I'll
a good
second.
explanation.
I'll second.
Okay.
That's a good question, Carol.
Does Mike want to speak to it?
So I'm looking for why.
It's page 30, Mike. Mike Shaw, the Director of Public Works.
Maybe we got a tree grant that I don't know.
It's possible.
Yeah.
The purpose, or if you'll notice, let me get back down to that, please. You'll notice that what I did was aggregated the two lines. We had in the past, we had tree planting and tree removal. And so you'll see that what I have done in the past, we had $15,000 in projected in for the budget. This year that we're in right now, we had $15,000 in tree removal and $3,000 in shade trees or tree planting for $18,000. if you look over here at $12,000 for the shade tree, I aggregated the two lines, and it's actually a decrease of $6,000 in the budget. So
I see
it's-
that now, yeah.
3,000.
Okay, that answers my question.
I've
So
tried.
you can plant and take away in the same budget line, in
Yes,
other words,
we
now.
planteth and we taketh in the same budget now.
Great, okay.
Taketh and you giveth.
So I can withdraw that motion as well.
And I'll withdraw my second.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Other proposed amendments. Mike, did you have any?
No,
No.
I'm fine, thank you.
Counselor DeAndrea?
Yep, I would like to amend the main motion to decrease funding for SEDCO by $45,000 for a total allocation of $189,744.
And I'll second the discussion.
And I will explain that. What I did was, having been the liaison for SEDCO for the past couple of years, and sort of looking at operations there and thinking about the economy now and noticing, by the way, that we have all kinds of economic development around us and not much going on, I kind of thought that maybe we could live with a half-time staff and a 8.5% or $20,000 reduction in overall spending. Yeah, I mean, we've got SEDCO, we've got Maine DECD, we've got Southern Maine EDD, we've got Southern Maine Regional Planning Commission, then there's this new Economic Development Corporation that's coming into being. I just think we can save a little money this year, and I know that, and I'm not discounting the work that SEDCO just did on some strategic planning that I looked over. I really think that we need to take a better look at what SEDCO's doing in the next year or so and kind of look toward the future. I think economic development has changed a lot in the past 25 years. And I guess I'd like to get a better look at what the town will be doing for the next 25 years.
Counselor Alquist?
Javi, I think you and your shop, you do a really good job, and I appreciate the work you do. I suspect, I halfway agree with you, Councilor DeAndrea, that we need to look at this. I'm not sure pulling the money out now is the way to do that. Again, I'd like to see it go in front of the Finance Committee. That was on our agenda to talk about SEDCO, its mission for the future, and how we bring it back to you people if it's in a different form by next year. I mean, we've talked, I think I've talked to everybody about this. We need to do that, that's a good idea, but I think we need time doing it, and I just don't want to whack money from their projects that they might be in the middle of and they might be developing. I don't feel comfortable doing that. I feel comfortable taking time, discussing it, and let's see what happens this coming year, that we can make a recommendation to the full council.
And I think, too, we should have available to us very shortly the strategic plan of the SEDCO board, which will perhaps give us a little more insight into, what they're projecting for the future. This also is the last year that there's monies available in the Industrial Park Fund that can be applied towards the cost of having SEDCO. And so, those are the kinds of things I think we need to look to, is looking at that strategic plan and letting the Finance Committee look at it, and maybe make some adjustments for the next fiscal year. Other comments on SEDCO? Richard, you're being quiet.
I did a lot of discussing during finance.
I didn't hear that.
I said Richard was being quiet. He said he did a lot of discussion at Finance Committee. so.
Okay.
Any other comments on the amendment to the motion, amendment to the main motion to reduce the SEDCO budget by $45,000? Hearing, okay.
I've
Thanks.
thrown my 2 cents in it.
That's all right.
Might as well. I'm gonna say, I initially I think it's a great idea, obviously, to be looking at it. I'm not quite sure I can support it right now. I'd love for it to have a little time to be mulled over. I don't know that it's quite as easy as axing it out, and, maybe that's is a full-time person, which, again, I have no problem with, but I think I'd like to know the actual, here's the number, here's the, you know, to give Finance Committee a little bit of time just to work with it a little bit.
Any other comments? All those in favor?
Oh, sorry.
Opposed?
I'm usually on the opposing end.
Thank you. Okay. Are there any other amendments?
Carol, do you have any more?
I don't think I do.
Yeah, I do. Here we go. Amend the motion to decrease funding for GIS engineering in the amount of $102,620.
Is there a second?
Second for discussion.
Yeah, I picked on this. I really did. Because, again, I was really looking at this budget in terms of what we could do to help get funding back into the schools. That really was my goal. And so I looked at this budget with with the sense that, and I asking myself the question, what's critical? What's really needed? I'm not saying that this GIS engineering, although I don't know a whole lot about it, isn't necessarily important. However, I just don't see it as essential. I'm wondering if we can get these services elsewhere. Do we really need this? You know, I just see the better investment right now in the schools.
Other comments? Counselor Wood?
This would, the motion is, in another way stated, is proposing to remove GIS engineering from our budget in its entirety.
Correct.
And that is that,
Public Works.
that's part of Public Works. Since it's on the floor for discussion, maybe I can burden Mike and ask him to just illustrate for us what that department, if you will, or that entity of your department provides for the town.
And may I say something?
And it represents 2.7% over last year's budget.
I guess what I'm looking for, Mike, is an explanation of what GIS engineering is and why is it important to Scarborough?
I thank Councilor DeAndrea for repeating the reasons why I asked Mike to come to the podium. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Well, GIS and the engineering is, within those lines, is everything from the surveying work that is done throughout the town and the town's right-of-ways for our own information, the engineering that is done, for instance, on many smaller road projects, and the GIS portion, I guess I could look to pretty much all my fellow department heads in terms of what benefit that brings. The GIS is the mapping software, and also beyond that, the information that, for instance, dispatch uses when there's an emergency call. That person reaches out. Keep in mind that although this GIS resides in my budget, it is in fact a town-wide position in terms of the benefit that it gives. Amy Dubois, who is the one GIS person that works here, has worked with the police department in terms of doing a bunch of research on various items. She has done all the mapping and all the coding for the streets for dispatch when they have emergency calls. That position has worked with the fire department in terms of working for the insurance rating, the ISO ratings, that sort of thing. That position is the outward-facing web GIS that is I think, quite beneficial in terms of helping all the departments, the assessing information and so forth that's out there. That WebGIS has been brought up to a standard that is similar to our neighboring communities and that sort of thing. Along with that, that position also does a number of other things. She has been she herself, through other, has worked with internally our safety programs, has worked with grants. That through that position, we have worked on the tree canopy grants. We've had 2 of those for $20,000 each. So there are a number of things. Also, that position, keep in mind, has done a lot of the, for instance, the Red Brook watershed management process that we're going through right now, where we received multiple thousands of dollars in grant money from the DEP to do that work. One of those components was that there had to be a cash or an in-kind set up from the town, and the value of the GIS services, the mapping, and that sort of thing that was done was basically covered a lot of our offsets, so there was no cash outlay on that, yet we're still going to have a very meaningful project when we're all said and done. You kind of caught me flat-footed.
Oh, no worries. I mean, I basically wanted to ask some questions about this. And the other quick question I have for you, I don't want to put you on the spot, Mike. Again, I admire your work.
No, that's fine.
The other question I had about it was that there was a loss of a little over $28,000 for salary reimbursement to this position. And where was that money coming from that it was reimbursed?
The $28,000 you refer to is the shared, this position was at one time, a third of the services that, a third of her salary is paid for through a contract with SACO.
Right.
SACO has had some situations where they've decided to go internal. What happened was, back 5 or 6 years ago when we started this position, Public Works Director Bolduc and SACO and myself saw the need for this position, but we also saw that as this was starting to come on board, we needed to find a way to show the value of this, so a shared position made sense so that we could get programs up and running in both communities, show the value of what was going on. We have now moved both of these projects, both of us have moved this position along so far, and it is so integral to our operations that I was finding that having 2/3 of our time was not enough, and Public Works Director Bolduc was finding that 1/3 of our time certainly was not enough. So he has, in turn, decided to create a full-time position within, a GIS intern or engineering person, and so we have this position back full-time. Now, you'll notice in my budget also, there's about $13,000 annually that this position is funded by Chief Thurlow's Emergency Management Planning Grant, EMPG grant.
No, I didn't
And
see
so that is an ongoing grant, and again, those funds come to us because that position, 20% of that position's time is spent doing emergency planning and that sort of thing, route planning and so forth and so on. So this person is bringing in some revenue, and we are finding some offsetting revenue from that standpoint as well. So there's a combination of things here with that GIS position. We have some grant funding supporting it. And then the other element to that is, like I said, that in-kind grant money that the in-kind that she can provide to offset so that we don't have a cash outlay. And then beyond that, there are a number of services, there's a lot of information that she maintains within the town that when we do have outside consultants doing work for us and so forth and so on, she can provide that with the information that she has, which saves us money because they don't have to go out and produce it and that sort of thing. So
Thanks, Mike, I appreciate that.
it's kind of like a three-legged stool type of setup in how she operates and how that position supports itself.
Thanks for the explanation. Appreciate it.
Yep.
I'll withdraw my motion.
I'll withdraw the second.
And I have one more.
Okay. Thank you, Mike.
Let me make sure I'm looking at the right one here. Move to, amend the main motion to decrease funding for full-time staff pay for Higgins Beach, $10,313. Did I say that right?
Do we just
What page
buy
are you on,
10,000?
Karen?
I'm sorry, to decrease the full amount of $10,313.
What page are you
Oh,
on?
sorry, 10 of tab 5.
I'll second that for discussion.
I'm curious why Ferry Beach, Herd Park, and Pine Point only require part-time pay, but Higgins Beach requires a full-time and part-time staff. So through the chair, is Bruce Gulliver here that he could answer that?
Bruce was here.
He ran away.
He ran away.
You left right before your motion.
I'll do my best to work through this question. Obviously, this is the first year for us to have any responsibilities at Higgins Beach, so this is a new and different experience for us. Clearly, we need some experience to make sure we're staffed properly, but based on our other beach experience, Bruce and staff came forward with this. I really can't speak to your specific question why there's full-time, but I would certainly note that the amount of $10,313 does not provide for a full-time salary. I suspect it is a part of an existing full-time salary that's some of the cost of which is being represented here.
Other discussion on that?
I saw Bruce did come in.
Oh, okay. Bruce Gulliver, who's the head of community services.
And through the
Question is relative to, on page 10 of the staff full-time pay and part-time pay, just an explanation of where that amount comes from.
Actually, Bruce, the clarifying question would be, why do we require what's considered staff full-time pay for Higgins Beach, and we do not require it for Herd Park, Pine Point, or Ferry?
I gotta find it first. Page 10.
Page 10.
Tab 5.
Part of my full-time staff is, part of his benefits and his salary are in those lines. We divided up part of his salary. So part of my staffing, current full-time staffing, gets charged to Higgins Beach. So we felt it was important that we put the appropriate charges in the departments in which they work. So he's a portion, that's a portion of his salary. He's covering Higgins Beach. It's a new program this year, and we do it in part of our other beaches as well.
So, but he's not included, you don't have that included for Ferry Beach or Pine Point Beach, or?
Yeah, if you flip back,
Am I missing it?
staff full-time under beach care,
Beach care.
part of his salary is carried in there as well.
I see.
Preceding page, page
I
9.
get
So he's going to be splitting his time between, I
did a
guess I'm
we did a-
confused by what beach care is and then why there's 3 other,
Yeah, we did a ratio. We have 2 people that cover our beaches. And we took 70% of one person's salary, and 30% of one person's salary and 20% of another person's salary. We split it up, so they have other duties, and we put their other duties in the recreation side of the budget.
okay.
So if you look back in last year's budget, you'll see, a different figure for the other areas, but because we didn't have the parking lot at Higgins Beach to contend with.
Okay.
That's correct.
I withdraw my motion. Thank you,
I
Bruce.
withdraw the second.
Thank you, Bruce.
Those are all questions I have. Well, they were supposed to be questions anyway.
We
Thanks.
appreciate them, that's great. Any other amendments to the budget? This final vote will be a vote on the main motion as amended, and it will be a roll call vote. Am I following right?
I'm not sure if you voted on A, C, and E yet.
Yes, they have.
Yes,
They
we
have?
did.
I beg your pardon. I'm
Yes, we
trying to
did.
follow along. Thank you.
Budget.
You're correct.
Okay. So, roll call vote.
Counselor Alquist,
Yes.
Counselor Holbrook,
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan,
Yes.
Counselor DeAndrea,
No.
Counselor Rancourt,
Yes.
Counselor Wood,
Yes.
Counselor Chair Roy.
Yes. Thank you all for your hard work and for your good questions, and hopefully everybody will be able to do a good job, and I have no doubt.
Order number 11-30 is a second reading on the bond order for the municipal capital improvements projects for fiscal year 2010-2011.
Speak to the
Yes, allow me just to get organized here. Both orders 1130 and 31 both relate to bond orders. The first, as the name suggests, is specific to municipal capital improvement projects. I believe the finance director was here last meeting and did address some of your questions, but essentially, these projects have been approved in prior budget years, some of them, as you'll note, in quite some time ago, though we are required for projects that require bonding to come back and receive that authority, and that's exactly what this intends to do. Clearly, we do not bond projects until and unless it's necessary. Sometimes the project is no longer necessary or the budget does change. And this is an issue that the Finance Committee has expressed great interest in. Just as an aside, there are a number of projects that we've bonded for that there's remaining budget, and we can clean up some of those things. Luckily, there's just a handful of those, and the school has done a similar thing as well. So I'm pleased to answer any specific questions you might have.
So, could I have a motion on order 1130?
Move approval, Madam Chair, of order number 11-30.
Second.
Discussion. Counselor Rankin.
My discussion is just in general, and I spoke with Tom about this on the phone also this week. We had a gentleman who spoke at the public hearing last week about our debts and potential future percentages of debt. And I would be interested at some time, Tom, having maybe a show and tell about that in more general for the public and myself. If we could maybe plan something like that to explain our debt situation and what maybe our future debt situation might look like in terms of what we have now and what we're anticipating in the future.
It may be timely with the impending question relating to Wentworth, which will be
Correct.
potentially a fairly
I think
high
that
dollar
could be a
value.
really good education piece.
I know,
think we've done it before, looking at, how much debt was going to be retired each year, and if we added it, what difference would that make on the budget on an annual basis?
I
over what?
think he brought it to my active brain, and I'd like to look at it again.
And I think the other area we looked at, too, is looking at anything that was bonded that, never got off the ground, making sure that, any of those things would be picked up
yes.
as part of it.
Thank you.
Other comments, questions?
I just want to make a general comment on the debt load that the town carries as relative to comparable communities, and it's true, Scarborough does have a higher than average debt. I would note, though, most of those communities, many of them have since approved multi-million-dollar, tens of millions of dollars, particularly school projects. I think of South Portland, I think of Biddeford, and Scarborough is simply ahead of the curve in that respect. So there's a fairly stark difference right now, but I would submit that within the next year or so, you'll see those come better in line. But beyond that, I think it's certainly something that we need to be aware of and talking about in terms of what our level of comfort is. And to that end, we've proposed a debt policy to the Finance Committee, which begins to put parameters around that and establish some levels of comfort and preference, if you will.
Counsel Holbrook?
Just a quick thought that I just want to point out and reiterate again something that was mentioned earlier. I'm generally the first one to want to axe things. But it is quite important. Most of these projects that are here are things that are in the works. For instance, we do have a little bit of, some money here for the pier. Our pier is obviously half-built at the moment, so these are mostly projects that are underway in mid-construction that need to be completed.
And I think Ruthie, the finance director, was able to identify that there were only 4 projects of the municipal projects that, or actually of all, both municipal and school, that weren't in some process. And she wasn't absolutely totally sure on those 4, that there was some initial work perhaps maybe done on those, so. This is roll call. Correct. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Alquist?
Yes.
Counselor Holbrook?
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan?
Yes.
Counselor DeAndrea?
Yes.
Counselor Rancourt?
Yes.
Counselor Wood?
Yes.
Counsel Chair Roy?
Yes.
Thank you.
Order number 11-31 is a second reading on the bond order for the school capital improvements projects for 2010-2011.
Move approval?
Second?
Discussion. I would just make note, the first one that we just did was a total of 400,000, and this one for public is 451,000. Comments, questions? This is school CIP projects, computers, laptops, the windows at Blue Point, roofing, tractor, energy conservation. Roll call vote.
Counselor Alquist?
Yes.
Counselor Holbrook?
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan?
Yes.
Counselor DeAndrea?
Yes.
Counselor Rancourt?
Yes.
Counselor Wood?
Yes.
Counsel Chair Roy?
Yes. There's no new business. Non-action items? There's none? Standing committees and special committee reports and liaison reports. Counsel DeAndrea.
Got nothing for you.
Counselor Rancourt.
We have our next ordinance committee meeting in the last Tuesday in May. And our next Oak Hill meeting will be also, I believe, the last Tuesday in May.
Which is the 31st.
Or it might be the week before that.
Okay, that would-
That committee met, we did a site walk, well-attended, a lot of thought, a lot of talk, a lot of discussion. Jay is our liaison and did a good job putting it together. We've looked at a lot of issues in the greater Oak Hill area, and I hopefully will have a very good and interesting report for you all in June.
Thank you. Counselor Wood?
Nothing much to report, Madam Chair. I know that Wentworth's committees are working hard, and I believe very soon to present a website to help the citizenry become educated and aware of the project that's unfolding for their consideration in November. CPIC meets Friday. I think Dan's here, but I believe
just left, I
they meet
think.
Friday. Other than that, all good.
Thank you. Counselor Alquist?
All set?
Counselor Holbrook?
Yep, just real quick, the Housing Alliance will meet tomorrow, which is Thursday, May 5th at 6:30, and firing range, we met, did our yearly inspections. Per usual, Scarborough has a wonderful, wonderful, fantastic Scarborough Fish and Games facility. They've done a wonderful job. They've made many upgrades, and they have installed a new security gate, which is, they raised the funds for this. It's a $40,000 gate system, so that should do wonders in keeping people out. So again, great job. Very, very proud of yourselves as always.
Counselor Sullivan?
Nothing new.
Let's have 2 committees. Tomorrow morning is the SEDCO board meeting. And then the next Energy Committee meeting will be on the 19th. We're to the point of finalizing the recommendations to the council regarding energy efficiency throughout the town, and hope to have that report to the council sometime in June. So, and that's moving along very, very nicely, and I'm not sure when the next Senior WOW meeting is, but it's WOW somewhere. Okay. Town managers report.
Very quickly, budget obviously has consumed a lot of my time and attention, though I do want to note there are 3 fairly major projects that are underway. Thankfully, Mike Shaw and his staff have picked up one of them, that being the upgrade to the Higas Parkway and Route 1 project. You can't live in this town without appreciating, there's a lot of activity going on in that area. I will give the contractor great credit in terms of keeping the traffic flowing, so to speak, during construction. It's not a simple job at all, but we are right at actually a little ahead of schedule, I believe, and we'll be coordinating our efforts with DOT's resurfacing project that they'll be coming in and doing really the entirety of Route 1 from Ann John's all the way to the connector, I believe. So hang on, it's going to be an interesting summer. I believe that paving work will be night work, so that will be a little easier for us to handle. The other projects just worth mentioning are the pier upgrade project. They're picking up speed in the final weeks. We expect to have that project done in about 3 weeks, and we'd like to have a bit of a public event, and certainly council will be involved sometime in early June. So that project is really nearing the final stretch. And lastly is the Higgins Beach lot. We are moving ahead, doing work within the lot. I talked to one counselor who expressed a concern. In the interim, that lot's not available for parking, and that's going to be a problem perhaps for the next couple of weeks. The contract requires the work to be done in time for Memorial Day. In the meantime, there are some spaces available on Greenwood Avenue. That's where I park when I go down there, so as far as I'm concerned, that's public space, and folks can park there in the interim. But we hope to have that work done, and we'll have that work done later this month. Thank you.
Council member comments. Councilor Wood.
Thank you. Well, I look forward to further deliberations at the Finance Committee level for these other subject areas that are very important to us and certainly to the town's financial well-being. And I think that as we move forward to a Finance Committee that meets on a regular basis, not just leading up to our fiscal year budget, but later on also, and following that the vote, I think will serve our citizens well, so I look forward to that. And I thank everybody for their hard work and careful and serious deliberation on the budget, and for their thoughtful comments tonight.
Councilor Rancourt?
Yeah, I want to also add my thanks to the Finance Committee and the town manager and the departments of the town. As you can see from my questions tonight, I didn't find very much that we could cut. What was really what I call fringe items that piqued my interest, but obviously, this was quite a lean budget. I'm sure there are always people who are going to say it's not lean enough, that they would like to see it leaner. But I also want to keep our town fully functioning and safe. So my hats are off to you, members of the Finance Committee, for your hard work.
Councilor DeAndrea?
I think I thank the Finance Committee, thanks again, and department heads as well. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I've been on your end of things. It is no easy task, so thank you. And I want to thank the residents that came out to speak about the budget and the school budget. I think that it's really important that, this is a participatory democracy, so you have to participate to make a difference. And I just want to hold out the library for a moment to say, way to go. I really like the guts involved in increasing revenues 21.2% for next year. I think that we will see that there's a slight turnaround for nonprofits. I'm beginning to see a little movement there in the economy. But the fact that the library decreased their budget by 1.2%, and is making this increase in revenue projected for next year, 21.2%. Go Nancy. Oh, before, I almost forgot to mention that there are free gun locks, free trigger locks for all Scarborough citizens, come one, come all, at the police station, open 24 hours a day. Thank you.
Great. Counselor Sullivan?
Yes, I saved my comments on the budget for last, I guess. I mean, I wasn't completely satisfied with the budget. It takes 5 councilors to pass a budget, so we have to make concessions. Pardon me?
We found out it takes 4.
Okay, 4. However, we have to work together and get the job done. I was hoping this year that we could show a little more fiscal restraint in spending on both sides. We weren't able to do that because any large tax increases, I really feel, jeopardize a new school for the children that I'd like to see built. And I worry about that. I've been saying that all along, that any large tax increases to the public are going to be seen differently than some of the people that came up and kindly spoke their side of the story. So I still hope with this, I think we kept it lean enough, I'm hoping, that we can still have a new school built. One comment that I'd like to make with the Finance Committee, and I mean no disrespect to any of the councilors present, these meetings were taped and are on DVD and were available through community service. Whenever I've missed a meeting that was important to me with the planning board or the school board, I went up to community services. They were more than happy to prepare one for me. And if, a lot of these questions tonight were discussed at the Finance Committee level. And I don't know how it's going to work out next year with who's going to be on finance, but you're always welcome. Anybody that's on it should feel the same way I do. We welcome questions from other councilors when they have these questions. If they're not able to make it, we'll ask those questions for them and get the answers back to them. And it'll, make the process a lot more open, I believe that way. And I'll end my comments with that.
Thank you. Counselor Hobart?
Yeah, glad the budget's over. I think that's a great, summarization of it. It's not something we love, it's not something we hate, it's something we can live with for a budget. Other than that, I want to wish my husband, who's probably very mad at me, happy anniversary, and I love you.
Today?
Today.
Wow.
Today, 11 years today.
Spent it with us
I
instead of him?
did.
Wow. Yeah. Gee. Where if my wife was?
That's dedication.
I guess, yeah.
I think you did that last year, Counselor Elkwood, if I remember.
Yeah, I think we all have
Join the
to.
club.
Counselor Elkwood.
Again, I wanted to thank the members of the Finance Committee, Councilor Wood, and Councilor Sullivan. I know it's difficult sometimes to make those meetings, but we had many meetings, and we certainly discussed all the issues that were brought forth to us, and I think we thoroughly went through the budget. And we did it at 7:30 in the morning. It was convenient for the three of us, and certainly the staff. Councilor Sullivan, some nights he worked all night and then came to the Finance Committee, which couldn't have been easy. But I appreciate your willingness and input, and I look forward to next year where we'll have a whole new team of Finance Committee and their ideas being brought forward. I certainly wanted to thank the town staff for your help putting this budget together. You folks were terrific. You were very accessible to us. You had a wealth of information, and every time we thought we could find something, like Councilor Rancourt and Andrea, we thought we could flesh something out, well, there was always a reasonable explanation, and it's a lot tougher to flesh things out, or a lot tougher to find things than you think. But I do appreciate it, and certainly I appreciate, Tom, the work that you put into this budget. You were always accessible to me and certainly the rest of the Finance Committee, and we certainly appreciate that. We put our council goals together at the beginning of the year. I remember that well, you know. We wanted to put a budget together on the municipal side that didn't reflect layoffs, and we didn't have layoffs, you know, so we made some sacrifices. On the municipal side, I personally, I heard the person, they got up at the public hearing and said they'd like to have their road plowed less and more money to education. Last year, somebody wanted us to sell a fire truck, put that money to education. You're always gonna have those extremes, I think, but I gotta believe if you didn't plow that road, then there'd be plenty of phone calls, and if you didn't respond to the fire, then there'd be plenty of phone calls. We certainly work hard to try a medium that we can live with. Is it perfect? Certainly not. But we need to make Scarborough enjoyable, a place that people can live, a livable community for all walks of life, for everybody, you know, for all wage earners groups. And we try to do that. That's not always easy, but we certainly respect education, and we appreciate education, and my kids went through Scarborough. I went through Scarborough. It was terrific, and it is a terrific school system, and we will continue to support it. This council supported early on the new school, you know, and that was a big step for us, because we haven't done that as a school that I remember in the past, and I've been here 8 years on the council, that we said right from the beginning, we need to do this, and we're gonna work together, and we're gonna work hard to make sure that happens. Did the budget reflect that a little bit? I think so. I think we wanted a budget that people would accept, that they could live with, and certainly support a new school also. So for me, that was important, that we got this budget, a reasonable budget, and we did do that. And I appreciate all the work that everybody put into it. Is it a great budget? I don't think so, but I think it's a good budget for bad times, and we certainly are still in bad times. And we put a good budget together for bad times, and I think municipal employees and certainly school employees received, you know, a wage increase, which I think was important. We saved programs. The school created a program, and that's okay. That's their choice. But again, I guess there's no apologies on my part. I think we did a pretty darn good job bringing in a good budget for bad times. I want to my last thing, I want to congratulate the kids that are graduating from college this week. My son's graduating from the University of Maine, Fort Kent on Saturday, and good for him.
Good for you, too.
Yeah, good for me. It's all good. Thank you.
Great, thank you. A couple of announcements I wanted to make first. One is that we have had an invitation by the Wentworth Buildings Committee next Monday at 6:30 to 7:30. They're going to have a presentation on geothermal energy.
Oh, great.
If anybody is interested in attending that, that's available. And then for the town clerk, the announcement that those who have absentee ballots for the school validation vote, school budget validation, use the yellow forms to cast your vote on that. So any citizens who have the absentee ballots for the school validation vote, budget validation vote. And then my 2 cents on the budget. One of my policies is always, one of my mottos is do the best for the most with the least, and I think that we reached that as best we could this year. Certainly, although the town municipal component of the budget did not eliminate any positions, we have several positions that are unfilled. So that, I think addresses that issue. Certainly want to thank all of the citizens who came and spoke, and all of those who sent me emails. I generally try to answer all of the emails, and my personal schedule did not allow me to answer every email today, so I apologize for not doing that. I think the Finance Committee did a tremendous job with it. I think the municipal budget is a very transparent budget. You can look at every line in that budget and know exactly what's happening. And sometimes there are a lot of misconceptions on the general public's part because they're not involved with on a continuum. A lot of comments were made about, leave the Haggis Parkway alone and don't do Dunstan. But that's just lack of, the full knowledge of those situations. That the Haggis Parkway and the Dunstan project are part and parcel of both the state DOT and federal funding, where the town pays a share. So it's driven by others, not just us, and certainly was in last year's budget, not in this year's budget. And those are things that are hard to understand, because it's a lengthy document and it's pretty hard to understand. But I think the transparency is there. And certainly, as far as the school budget, we are not allowed, to visit their budget on a line-by-line. I think there are areas where, personally, I feel that they could look. But I will talk to the school board chair, and I have done that, and suggested those things, and so that's how I basically handled that. But all in all, I think, hopefully, from the people who can afford it the least to those that can afford it more, the budget at least meets some of my goal. It's not as low as I'd like to have seen it, but I think in order to maintain the quality of the schools, in order to maintain the quality of our infrastructure and the services in the community, that's, I think, what we needed to do. And I kudos to the department heads for making Tom's job a little less, because they always come with a well-prepared budget, and kudos to the manager for his due diligence in responding to the request of the council members and the finance committee to make adjustments and reductions when possible.
But don't forget to remind them about the vote, the full voting day.
The vote on Tuesday.
Yes.
May 10th.
May 10th, and that's those that have the absentee ballot. On Tuesday, May 10th, is the vote for the school validation, budget validation, and for if you live in the district that had Senator Bliss, and you're available to vote that day on both of those items. So with that, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you.